Hi, I'm Kyle with Elevate Canine Academy. If you're watching this video, I'm going to guess you have some reservations about using prong collars and e-collars. So I wanted to go over those and make you understand exactly how they work and give you the correct information, not what you're just reading out online or what somebody says. Because if you're reading it online or somebody says it, the first question you have to ask, have they ever actually utilized the tools? One tool right here is a prong collar. And yes, they look barbaric, but what I want to explain is how we actually utilize it. And what we do is what we call the concept of pressure on and pressure off. So let's just say I put this on the dog and the dog starts pulling, it's going to all of a sudden start tightening. And that's going to be pressure on. And then when the dog drops back to where it's supposed to be, all of a sudden the pressure releases. And what the dog learns very quickly is they're the one who controls that pressure. If they're where they're supposed to be, they will not have any pressure on them. And so we start this from day one, that we start them with a walking and working on sits and downs and whatnot, but it allows us to apply a little bit of pressure. It's not, I can tell you from experience, I'm wearing these, they don't hurt. They're not comfortable. I mean, when it tightens up, it's not comfortable, but it doesn't hurt because it disperses the pressure all the way around the neck, as opposed to the common flat buckle collar that you use where the dog's choking themselves as they start pulling. But anyway, so we start with this and get the dog used to that concept of pressure on, pressure off. And then eventually we're going to switch to an e-collar. Now, if you were to go online and do searches on e-collars, you're going to find that how it's going to hurt your dog and it's going to ruin your relationship with your dog, but I can tell you that isn't the case at all. The people that are posting this have never actually even used the tools, so it's kind of hard for them to know what you get and what you can't. But as far as an e-collar, if you've ever been through physical therapy or you've gone to a chiropractor, it's likely they've used a TENS unit on you. So a TENS unit actually stimulates the muscle to try to loosen up that muscle. Well, the e-collars that we use feel just like the TENS unit. So we take that concept of pressure on and pressure off and we utilize the e-collar to teach the same thing with the dog. The way we introduce the e-collar is once the dog understands some concepts, some commands, we'll start layering those commands with the e-collar using the same concept of pressure on and pressure off. So for example, we'll figure out where the dog just starts to feel the e-collar pressure and it's not hurting them or anything. It's more of like a, what is that? And so we'll layer it on top of commands. So the dog already knows a sit. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to press the button. So they're going to feel that pressure. When I tell them to sit, they're going to sit. As soon as they get into a sit position, I'm going to release the button and I'm going to reward and let them know they're a good boy, a good girl for doing the command. And so we just layer this over and over and over, and the dog starts to understand that they can turn that pressure off. So now, as we advance down the road and the dog understands what the e-collar is doing, now we'll start moving into what I call it an intermediate phase or the motivator phase. And what that is I don't use the pressure anymore to give the dog the command, but let's say I give the dog the command and the dog doesn't sit, I'm going to go ahead and press and hold the button. But I'm going to go at a little bit higher level, a little bit more uncomfortable of a level. And then as soon as the dog sits, then I release the button. Or if I tell the dog to come and the dog is sitting off at a distance, I will say come, and if the dog doesn't come, I'm going to hit the button. If the dog starts moving towards me, I'm going to release the pressure. And so what this does over time is it gets the dog to listen to us because they understand there's a consequence. They know exactly what we're asking them to do. And it gives us complete control of our dog. So if you ever want to have an off-leash dog, you really have to have an e-collar on the dog. Otherwise, your recall is going to be very limited because you don't have a way to reinforce the rules with the dog in that situation. So to my point that I want to make with this is that we aren't hurting the dogs by using prong collars and e-collars. We've had well over 1,000 dogs that have come through our programs, and every single dog gets a prong collar and e-collar, and they just learn that concept of pressure on, pressure off. The other tools that are out there, they're not really designed to function in that way. And so we don't use harnesses because harnesses are actually made for pulling, so that actually encourages it. We don't like flat buckle collars because it pushes into their windpipe and makes it difficult to breathe. So these tools are the ones that we have found to be most effective and least aversive of tools towards dogs. So I hope this kind of gives you a better understanding of how the prong collar and e-collar work and how we utilize it, because it is a wonderful tool and it gives you so much more control over your dog in working your dog through behavioral issues and getting the obedience to be spot on.